picture this. You're lying in bed late at night. The room is totally dark.
We've all been there.
Right. And the blue light of your screen is just illuminating the room. You're endlessly scrolling through the App Store.
Just, looking for a quick dopamine hit.
Exactly. Or maybe you're on your daily commute, killing time. You're looking for something to pass the time, like a new physics puzzle game, or maybe a highly specific tool.
Like a photo editor with a very specific color grading tool.
Yeah, or a custom keyboard.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're traveling and you need a VPN to bypass a firewall.
Or just a caller ID app to stop those endless spam calls.
Oh, man, the spam calls. But yeah, maybe you just want a third-party flashlight app because you need a strobe feature. And as you're swiping through the results, there's this one word that just dominates the interface.
Gleaming, like a neon sign.
Completely removing all the friction from your decision-making. And that word is free.
It's an incredibly enticing concept, right? I mean, human beings are essentially wired to pursue the path of least resistance.
Totally.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to getting things.
Exactly. A free app feels like this massive, endless buffet of digital tools and entertainment, and there's absolutely no cover charge at the door.
You don't have to pull out a credit card at all.
Right. You don't have to sit there doing a cost-benefit analysis. You just, tap a button.
And it feels like you're beating the system somehow. You tap download, the little progress circle spins for like 3 seconds, and boom.
You've got a fully rendered 3D game.
Sitting right there on your home screen. And your bank account hasn't dropped a single cent.
Well, if you follow the tech space even a little bit, you probably already know that the friction wasn't actually removed.
Right. The payment was just deferred.
Yeah.
And the currency was changed.
Exactly. Which brings us to the actual mission of today's deep dive. We are looking at a stack of really fascinating research today.
Research that details the invisible architecture of what they call the data harvesting economy.
Yes. We are going to dig into the actual software mechanisms, the network requests, and the underlying code.
How these seemingly harmless free apps actually operate. Because look, they aren't charities.
No, they certainly are not. They don't make money from you. They make money off you. Specifically, off the digital exhaust you generate.
Right. So the goal of our deep dives today is to really move past that superficial understanding. We all vaguely know that, apps track us to show us ads.
Yeah, that's common knowledge at this point.
But the source material we're analyzing today goes way deeper than that. It exposes the specific APIs being exploited.
The outright cybercriminal networks that leverage this data, actually.
Yeah, and the hardware-level vulnerabilities that turn your smartphone into basically a remote sensor for third-party brokers.
We're basically going to dismantle the whole illusion of the $0 price tag.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with a classic anomaly that really highlights how broken this whole ecosystem has become.
The flashlight app.
Yes, the flashlight app.
Yeah.
Now, I remember the very first iterations of smartphones. If you wanted a flashlight, you downloaded a third-party app.
Because it wasn't built into the OS yet.
Right. And on a software level, it was incredibly simple. The app just sent a basic command to the camera's API to turn on the LED flash.
That was literally it. It was just a digital light switch.
But if you look at the permissions requested by some of these free flashlight apps today, or even just simple free puzzle games, it is mind-boggling.
It really is. They demand this comprehensive suite of hardware and software access before the app will even launch.
And it's not a polite request either.
No, the software is actually coded to crash or go into an infinite loop if you deny those permissions.
But wait, I have to push back here immediately. Modern mobile operating systems, whether it's iOS or Android, they're built on sandboxing, right?
That's the theory.
Apps are supposed to be isolated from the core system and from each other. So if I download a flashlight app, and it wants my SMS data, my location, my microphone.
How does the OS even allow a utility app to request that?
Exactly. Why doesn't the system package manager just step in and say, hey, you're a flashlight. You don't get to ask for text messages?
What's fascinating here is that this is the exact logical question you should be asking. And it reveals a major flaw in how App Store ecosystems evolved.
Okay, lay it on me.
Historically, especially in older Android versions, permissions were declared in this single file called the Android manifest.
Right.
When you installed the app, it showed you a massive list of everything it wanted, and you had to accept all of it, or you just couldn't install the app.
The classic take it or leave it era of app installation. I remember that.
Exactly. Now, modern operating systems have shifted to runtime permissions.
Meaning the app has to ask you for access the first time it tries to use the camera, right?
Exactly. But here's the catch. The OS inherently cannot judge the intent or the business logic of the application.
Oh, I see.
The operating system doesn't know what a flashlight is, conceptually. It just sees a compiled binary package.
So if the developer writes code that says, I need to access the text message API, the OS just shrugs and asks the user.
Precisely. The OS simply executes the prompt. It relies entirely on the user to be the security gatekeeper and say, this doesn't make sense.
But developers know that users suffer from incredible permission fatigue.
Oh, absolutely. When you're standing in the dark and you just want to find your keys, you will blindly tap Allow on 5 pop-ups just to get the light on.
Wow. So I want to use an analogy here. It's like a physical world scenario where a plumber shows up to fix your sink.
Okay, I like where this is going.
And the plumber demands the keys to your diary, a map of your daily commute, and your family photo album.
Which in the physical world you would instantly recognize as insane.
You'd call the cops. But in the digital world, the plumber is just a compiled binary.
And the way it pays itself is by taking those digital keys, mapping out your private life, and selling that telemetry to the highest bidder.
That is just wild.
It is. The flashlight or the matching puzzle game or the custom keyboard. It's essentially a digital Trojan horse.
The utility is just the shiny wrapper to convince you to bypass your own security sandbox.
Exactly. And once the app has those permissions, it doesn't just sit there waiting for you to use it.
Right, it starts running in the background.
It initiates background processes, utilizes system APIs to constantly poll your device state.
And that brings us to one of the most chilling vulnerabilities highlighted in the research, the clipboard threat.
Oh, the clipboard. This is where the technical reality gets genuinely unsettling.
Because we all treat the clipboard as this ephemeral, invisible space. You copy a tracking number, you paste it, you forget about it.
But you also open your password manager, copy a complex encrypted string, and paste it into your banking app.
Right. Or you copy a two-factor authentication code. Or a Bitcoin wallet address.
And you assume that because you didn't paste it anywhere public, it's completely safe.
But it's not.
No.
No.
Fundamentally, the clipboard is just a shared region of the device's RAM random access memory.
Right.
In older OS versions, and even in some current environments, depending on the exploit, any active application could indiscriminately read the clipboard.
Without triggering any kind of system alert.
Exactly. Without you ever knowing.
Wait, but I know Apple introduced a feature recently where a little banner drops down from the top of the screen saying, App X pasted from App Y.
Yeah, that was specifically to combat this exact threat.
Because security researchers found out apps were doing this, right?
Yes, they discovered that dozens of top-charting free apps, we're talking weather widgets, news aggregators, were programmed to scrape the clipboard.
Every single time you open the app.
Every single time the app was brought to the foreground, it would execute a read command on the clipboard memory space.
So if I had my banking password sitting in that memory space?
The app scraped it as plain text and transmitted it via a background network request to an external server in milliseconds.
And I would never even see a flash on the screen.
Nope. Entirely silent data exfiltration.
That is terrifying. And even with the new OS warnings, the sources indicate that sophisticated malicious apps use zero-day exploits to bypass those notifications entirely.
Yes, heavily obfuscated code to sneak right past the new banners.
It really frames the concept of data harvesting, not as this passive collection of, like, your high scores.
Right. It's an aggressive, real-time surveillance operation.
Which perfectly transitions us into defining what exactly this beast is. We need to categorize the actual anatomy of the extracted data.
Because the sheer volume of telemetry these apps pull goes way beyond what most people consider personal data.
Yeah, let's break this down into the 3 distinct tiers the sources talk about.
So the first tier is personal information. This is your static data layer.
The basics: name, email address, phone number.
Exactly. Your declared age, your gender, the kind of explicit data you might manually type into a registration form.
It's valuable, sure, but it's pretty basic. I mean, it's essentially your digital driver's license.
Right. But the second tier behavioral data is where the technical complexity and the real financial value lie.
Because this isn't just about what you type into a form.
No, this is the passive telemetry of how you exist in the physical and digital world.
Okay, let's unpack that. Hardware mechanisms. Talk to me about the sensors.
So you have hardware sensors built into your device, right?
Yeah.
The accelerometer, the gyroscope, the magnetometer.
The things that know when I turn my phone sideways.
Exactly. Free apps routinely request access to these sensors under the guise of improving user experience or for gameplay mechanics.
But what are they actually doing?
They are sampling your physical movement hundreds of times a second.
Wait, hold on. Why does an advertising company or a data broker care about my gyroscope data? Like, what does the tilt of my phone actually tell them?
Everything. The algorithmic models parsing this raw sensor data are incredibly advanced.
Really, just from the tilt.
By analyzing the micro vibrations and the angle of the device, the code can determine if you're sitting at a desk, walking upstairs, running, or lying flat on your back in bed.
Oh, wow.
Combine that with the ambient light sensor data, which tells them the room is pitch black and the battery state, and the app knows exactly what time you go to sleep.
And what time I wake up. It maps my circadian rhythm.
Yes. They aren't just logging that you opened an app at 11:30 p.m.
They're logging that I am physically lying down in the dark, my battery's at 15% and not charging.
And your typing cadence has slowed down by 20%, which indicates physical fatigue.
That is insane. It's so invasive.
And they track your dwell time, too. How many milliseconds your screen stops scrolling when a specific image or headline appears.
So they know exactly what catches my eye, even if I never click on it.
Exactly. They track the pressure with which you tap the screen. But it gets even more invasive when we talk about cross-device tracking.
Right. I've always wondered about this. How does an app on my phone know what I am watching on my smart TV?
Even if they aren't connected to the same Wi-Fi network.
Yes. I always assumed it was just IP address matching or something at the router level, is it not?
IP matching is common, but the source material highlights the use of ultrasonic audio beacons.
Ultrasonic? Like dog whistles?
Basically, yeah. It's a fascinating, albeit terrifying, mechanism. Advertisers embed high-frequency audio tones into television commercials or online videos.
Tones that are completely inaudible to the human ear.
Yes, and the free app on your phone is using the microphone permission you granted it to listen for those exact tones.
Wait, so the app just sits in the background, periodically waking up to sample the audio in my living room?
Exactly. When it detects that specific ultrasonic frequency, it immediately logs it and sends a payload to the data broker.
Saying, hey, this phone is currently in the same physical room as the television playing this specific commercial.
Precisely. They have instantly linked your offline viewing habits to your mobile digital profile.
All without me ever typing a single word. That is engineering brilliance used for absolute privacy destruction.
It really is. And that brings us to the third tier of data, which is sensitive data.
This is the highest risk category, right?
Absolutely. We're talking about explicit access to the file system, your private contacts, your detailed call logs.
Your SMS database and direct access to your photo gallery.
When you aggregate those three tiers, the static personal info, the highly dynamic behavioral sensor data, and the intimate file system data.
You're not just looking at a simple advertising profile anymore.
No. The algorithms construct a highly predictive, invisible digital clone of the user.
A digital clone. I like that phrasing. It's a mathematical model of your psychology, your daily physical routine, and your entire social network.
And this clone often knows more about you than you consciously know about yourself.
Because I might not realize that my morning commute takes exactly 42 minutes every single day.
Or that you consistently hover over ads for fast food when your phone detects you are physically near a specific intersection on a Friday afternoon.
But the algorithm knows. The algorithm logs the anomaly.
Right. It never forgets.
So the logical next question for anyone listening to this is, how does a spreadsheet of my gyroscope data and my screen dwell time turn into actual cash?
Right. The monetization pipeline.
Yeah, we know they sell it, but I want to dive into the plumbing of how that actually works, from profile to product.
To understand the monetization, we really have to look at the architecture of programmatic advertising.
The financial engine of the free app ecosystem.
Exactly. It operates on a massive, automated, high-frequency trading infrastructure.
Sort of like a modern stock exchange.
Very much so. But the commodity being traded is your real-time attention.
Okay, let's bypass the standard, overused example of, oh, I search for shoes on YouTube, and now I see shoe ads on Instagram.
Right, everyone intuitively understands that basic tracking happens.
What I want you to break down for me is the physics of that transaction. Because it happens instantaneously.
It really does.
I open a social media feed, and in the fraction of a second it takes for the UI to load, a hyper-targeted ad is already sitting there.
Waiting for you.
How does the data move from the free flashlight app to the advertising exchange to my feed in 200 milliseconds.
It is a marvel of low latency networking. Let's trace the data packet from the source.
Okay, trace it.
Inside that free Flashlight app, the developer has embedded several SDK software development kits.
Basically, pre-written blocks of code provided by ad networks and data brokers.
Yes. The developer puts them in because the ad network pays them a fraction of a cent every time they harvest data.
So the app developer doesn't even have to know how to write the tracking code.
Not at all. They just drag and drop a third-party tracking module into their app to monetize it.
Wow. Okay, so what happens when I open my phone?
The moment you unlock your screen, the SDK wakes up. It bundles your current telemetry.
Your GPS coordinates, your device ID, battery level.
Yep, your recent browsing history. It wraps all of this in a JSON payload and fires it off to what's called a supply-side platform, or SSP.
Okay, an SSP, what is that?
The SSP is basically a digital auctioneer representing your phone's screen space.
So the SSP has my profile and an empty slot on my screen that needs an ad. What happens next?
The SSP instantly broadcasts a bid request to dozens of demand-side platforms, or DSPs.
And the DSPs represent the advertisers, right?
Exactly. These platforms ingest your digital clone's parameters. The algorithms on the DSP side analyze your profile.
And they say something like, this user has a high probability of buying a premium VPN service.
Right, because they recently downloaded a travel app and their current IP address is in a foreign airport.
And then the algorithms literally bid money against each other in real time.
Yes. It's called real-time bidding, or RTB. Advertiser A bids 2 cents to show you an ad. Advertiser B bids 5 cents.
And this whole auction resolves in milliseconds.
Literally milliseconds. The winning ad's creative asset is pulled from a content delivery network, pushed down through the exchange, and rendered on your screen.
Just as my thumb finishes swiping up.
Exactly. That entire global multi-server negotiation happened in the blink of an eye.
Fueled entirely by the data passively harvested by the free apps idling in my phone's memory.
That is the exact mechanism.
That infrastructure is staggering, just the sheer scale of it.
It's massive.
And while it feels incredibly intrusive to have high-frequency algorithms trading derivatives of my psychology,
Right.
programmatic advertising for VPNs or shoes is fundamentally the legal established currency of the internet.
It is. It's just very aggressive marketing.
But the research we are diving into takes a sharp turn here. Here's where it gets really interesting.
And much darker.
Because the infrastructure we just described, the silent data extraction, the background payloads, is the exact same architecture used by outright cybercriminals.
It's a classic dual-use technology.
Yes. So let's step outside the bounds of legitimate advertising networks and enter the dark economy.
The single most valuable weaponized asset in that space is your contact list.
The contact list, let's focus on that. The API involved here is typically re-add contacts on Android, right?
Yes, or the equivalent context framework on iOS.
Let's break down the mechanics of contact scraping, because a fake app tricks you into granting this permission, usually by claiming it's necessary for the app to function.
Like a caller ID app saying it needs your contacts to know who is calling?
Or a multiplayer game needing your contacts so you can invite your friends.
Exactly. It seems perfectly logical to the user.
So you tap Allow. What happens on the file system level the exact second you grant that permission?
The moment the OS grants the permission, the app executes a query against your device's contact database.
It doesn't just read the names and numbers, does it?
No, it pulls the entire vCard architecture. It scrapes the names, the multiple phone numbers, the associated email addresses,
The physical addresses you've saved.
the birth dates, the job titles, and crucially, the metadata.
Wait, what kind of metadata?
Like how often you interact with each contact, or whether they are favorited in your phone.
Oh, wow. So they know who my best friend is versus my dentist?
Exactly. It serializes all of this structured data, encrypts it so it can't be spotted by network security tools, and quietly uploads it via background request.
To an unregulated server, probably located in a jurisdiction with zero cybercrime enforcement.
Almost always.
And the reason this is so devastating isn't just about my personal privacy. It's about network topology.
That is the key insight. They aren't just stealing a list of names. They are mapping your social graph.
They are mathematically quantifying the trust you have built with other human beings.
We really need to look at this through the lens of graph theory. Your contact list is a relational database.
Okay, so I am a central node.
Right. And connected to you are other nodes. Your mother, your boss, your spouse, your physician.
And the scammers feed millions of these stolen contact lists into massive databases to find intersecting nodes, right?
Exactly. If your phone shows a number saved as Mom Mobile,
And my sister's phone, which was also compromised by a completely different free app, shows the same number as Mom.
The algorithm verifies the familial relationship with near absolute certainty.
This completely changes the nature of the scams that follow. We aren't talking about a random robocall claiming my car warranty has expired.
No, the generic scams are just the surface level.
Because of that one free puzzle game I downloaded, the data broker sells my social graph to a phishing operation.
And suddenly, the attacks on your friends and family become highly targeted spear phishing campaigns.
The operational efficiency of these scams is terrifying. Walk me through the step-by-step scam pattern the source material outlines.
Okay, so step 1. A user innocently installs a random app.
Step 2, the app requests and gets contact permissions.
Step 3. Every number in the phone goes straight into a malicious database.
And then step 4, the weaponization. Scammers use those numbers to execute fraud.
Right. Let's say the scammer database flags a know your best friend.
Okay.
The scammer's automated system generates an SMS, spoofing your phone number or using a compromised WhatsApp account.
So it looks like it's coming directly from me.
Exactly. And the message doesn't say, click this link for a free prize.
No, it says something like, hey, friend's actual first name, I'm locked out of my banking app and I'm stranded.
Can you wire me $100? I'll pay you back tonight.
And because the scammer has the context, the target's natural skepticism is completely bypassed.
It really is.
Like if I get an unknown text, I delete it. If I get a text from a number I recognize using my nickname referencing my spouse's name,
Data harvested entirely from a stolen contact list.
my defenses drop instantly. I'd probably send the money.
They are hacking the human element. The technical exploit was getting you to click allow on the red contacts prompt.
Right. And the secondary exploit is social engineering based on that stolen data.
They run fake loan calls claiming you put a relative down as a guarantor.
Or highly localized courier scams claiming a package addressed to your specific street address is stuck at customs.
And they just need a quick credit card release fee. The precision is what makes the conversion rate of these scams so incredibly high.
It is absolute psychological manipulation fueled by structural data.
It is.
But as dark as spear phishing is, the research highlights an escalation that turns this data harvesting infrastructure into an outright extortion engine.
The malicious loan app syndicates.
Yes, the loan app nightmare.
Yeah.
Because this is where the digital world crosses over into severe, real-world physical and emotional trauma.
This really is the apex predator of the malicious app ecosystem.
Break down how they operate.
These applications masquerade as legitimate microfinance or payday loan platforms.
Then they heavily advertise on social media, right?
Constantly, they target individuals who are in severe, immediate financial distress.
So the user downloads the app, desperate for a quick cash injection to pay rent or a medical bill.
And to process the loan application, the app demands the holy trinity of permissions.
Contacts, SMS, and storage.
Meaning access to the entire file system, including the photo gallery.
And because the user is operating under extreme financial duress, they don't scrutinize the requests.
They just tap allow to get the money.
But here is where the technical subversion happens. How do these apps get past the automated security checks of the Google Play Store or Apple's App Store?
Right, because obviously a piece of code designed for extortion shouldn't pass the review process.
If I upload an app that is clearly designed to steal data and blackmail people, the automated static analysis tool should flag the malicious code signatures immediately.
You would think so. But they use a technique called dynamic code loading, combined with heavy code obfuscation.
Okay, explain dynamic code loading.
When the developer submits the app to the store, the compiled binary is completely benign. It looks and acts exactly like a basic, boring financial calculator.
So the automated reviewers scan it, find nothing malicious, and approve it.
Exactly. It's a sleeper agent.
Wow.
Once the user installs the app and grants the sweeping permissions, the app reaches out to a command and control server.
And quietly downloads the actual malicious payload in the background.
Yes. It executes it locally on the device. By the time the app is functional, it has already exfiltrated the user's entire contact database.
Their private text messages.
And it has zipped up their personal photo gallery, sending it all to the syndicate servers.
And the business model here isn't actually lending money, is it?
No, the loan is just the bait. They might disperse a small amount of funds, but they attach astronomical hidden interest rates.
We are talking hundreds of % per week.
And the moment the user misses a payment by even a single day,
The extortion protocol initiates.
it is a fully automated algorithmic harassment campaign. The syndicate doesn't send your file to a collection agency.
They use the data they harvested against you.
Because they have your contact list, Their automated VoIP dialers start calling your parents, your siblings, your employer.
Blasting SMS messages to everyone in your professional network stating that you are a thief and a fraud.
And the escalation goes even further into the realm of digital violence.
Because they scraped your photo gallery.
Exactly. They run your personal images through automated generative AI pipelines to create morphed, explicit material.
They manipulate images of your face onto compromising photos.
And they threaten to mass distribute this material to every single node in your stolen social graph unless you pay an exorbitant ransom.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is the ultimate weaponization of data.
It absolutely is. The architecture designed to figure out if you want to buy running shoes is being used to conduct systematic psychological torture.
And the most chilling technical reality of this entire nightmare scenario, it relies 100% on the inherent functionality of the mobile operating system.
There is no complex hacking involved. There is no zero-day exploit required.
The syndicate simply asked for the keys using the standard API prompts.
And the user, lacking the technical context of what that meant, just handed them over.
That is the core paradox of mobile security. The operating system did exactly what it was programmed to do. It facilitated the user's request.
It did.
So what does this all mean? If the technical architecture of our devices is inherently neutral and the entire data harvesting economy hinges on the permissions we grant.
How do we stop giving away the keys to the castle?
Exactly. How do we systematically harden our defenses? We need to dive deep into the mechanics of identifying these traps before the payload ever executes.
Defense begins with fundamentally changing how you interact with the permission architecture of your operating system.
You cannot rely on the App Store to filter out every piece of malicious code. We just established that with dynamic loading.
Right, you have to understand the specific Android and iOS permissions that represent a critical risk to your digital clone.
Let's run a technical audit of these dangerous permissions. We've discussed read contacts at length, but let's look at access find location.
That is a massive one.
A lot of free apps request this. Now, obviously, if I download a navigation app or a ride-sharing service, it fundamentally requires my GPS coordinates.
Of course, it needs to calculate routing.
But what about a free weather app? Doesn't it need my location to tell me if it's raining?
This is where granular control is vital. A weather app needs your general location, maybe your zip code or your city.
Which could be derived from your IP address, right?
Yes, or course network location. It absolutely does not need access find location.
Because what does find location actually do?
It activates the dedicated GPS hardware chip in your phone to pinpoint your exact coordinates down to a few meters, updating continuously in the background.
So if a simple utility app demands find location access, its primary function is spatial telemetry harvesting, not providing a utility.
Exactly. The golden rule of defense from the sources is the principle of least privilege. If the core functionality of the app can survive without the permission, deny it.
What about reads NMS or receives that summons? Why would any app outside of my primary texting app ask for this?
Historically, developers claimed they needed SMS access to auto-verify those one-time passwords, or OTPs, that get texted to you during login.
Oh, right, to save the user the friction of having to memorize a 6-digit code and type it in.
But by granting that permission, you give the app the ability to silently read, parse, and upload every single private text message on your device.
Which is an insane trade-off for 3 seconds of convenience.
And modern operating systems have specific, restricted APIs just for OTP retrieval that do not require full SMS inbox access anyway.
So if an app is still demanding read SMS today,
it is almost certainly scraping your inbox for behavioral profiling or looking to intercept banking authorization codes.
Okay, so managing permissions at runtime is the final line of defense. But how do we identify the structural red flags of malicious application before we even hit the download button?
You have to look for ghost developers.
What are the forensic indicators of a ghost developer?
When you look at an app listing, you have to investigate the entity that published it. Malicious actors operate via shell accounts.
So if you scroll down to the developer information,
Look for the absence of institutional infrastructure. A legitimate software company will have a functional website, a verifiable physical address,
and a comprehensive privacy policy that details their data retention architecture.
Right. Ghost developers, on the other hand, will have an email address linked to a free domain, like a Gmail or Yahoo account.
Or a nonsensical privacy policy hosted on a free blog site.
Or a developer name that just looks like a random alphanumeric hash. They operate in the shadows because their accounts are constantly banned.
So they need to rapidly spin up new ones to re-upload their malicious payloads. And speaking of bypassing infrastructure, we really need to address the massive vulnerability of sideloading, because the sources are highly critical of this practice.
It is incredibly dangerous.
For those who aren't familiar with the architecture, sideloading is when you bypass the official app stores entirely
You go to a third-party website or you click a link in a Telegram group.
and you download the raw application package directly to your device in .ip file for Android or in .ip file for iOS.
The mechanical danger of sideloading cannot be overstated here.
Because while the official app stores have flaws, they do employ sophisticated static and dynamic analysis pipelines, right?
Yes, they check the cryptographic signatures of the apps. They run the binaries and sandboxed emulators to look for malicious network calls before the app is ever published.
But when you sideload an APK directly from a random server,
You are intentionally disabling your operating system's package manager security protocols.
you are inviting raw, unvetted, potentially heavily obfuscated code to execute directly within your device's memory environment.
You are operating entirely without a safety net.
It's the equivalent of downloading a compile.exe file from a spam email on your desktop and running it as an administrator.
You just wouldn't do it.
But people do it on their phones constantly because they want a premium app for free or they want a modified version of a game with unlimited currency.
And it is a massive vector for malware.
Now, what about the apps that are actually in the official stores, the ones that bypass the automated checks? How do we use the user review ecosystem forensically to spot them?
Well, the review ecosystem is highly manipulated, but it leaves traces. Do not look at the overall star rating or the 5-star reviews.
Because those are almost always artificially inflated by massive botnets or click farms, right?
Designed purely to manipulate the App Store's search ranking algorithm, you must immediately filter for the 1-star reviews.
And what are we looking for there?
You are looking for specific, highly technical complaints that indicate background exploitation.
The sources mention looking for phrases like data leak or spam calls.
Exactly. If multiple users report that they installed a free wallpaper app and 48 hours later their WhatsApp was bombarded with phishing attempts, that's a direct correlation.
But one of the most interesting physical indicators mentioned in the research is battery drain. Why is power consumption a forensic clue for data harvesting?
Because data exfiltration requires energy. It is a simple matter of physics.
If I download a simple 2D physics puzzle game, it should use minimal processing power.
Right. But if you notice that your device's battery is depleting rapidly even when the screen is off,
Or the physical chassis of the phone is actually warm to the touch while sitting in my pocket.
it means the app is utilizing what are called wake locks.
Wake locks, explain the architecture of that.
A wake lock is an OS-level API that allows an application to prevent the device's CPU from entering a deep sleep state.
So a malicious free app will request a partial wake lock.
Yes, so that even when you turn the screen off, the app continues to run heavy background processes.
It's silently activating the GPS radio, processing sensor data, waking up the cellular modem.
Establishing a PCP connection and uploading your telemetry. All of those hardware activations draw significant current from the lithium-ion battery.
So massive, unexplained battery drain is often the most visible physical symptom of an invisible software infection.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know how to audit permissions, we know how to spot ghost developers, we understand the dangers of sideloading, and we know how to read the physical telemetry of our own hardware via battery drain. Let's synthesize all of this into a definitive, proactive safety protocol.
Let's do it.
What are the specific, actionable architectural changes a user needs to make to their device right now?
We can establish a rigorous security posture based on the research. Step 1 is environment control. Stick strictly to official, verified marketplaces.
Do not disable the default security settings that prevent the installation of unknown apps.
Step 2 is slowing down the installation pipeline. We all suffer from terminal UI blindness.
We just tap the glowing blue agree button to get to the dopamine hit of the new app faster.
You have to stop trading permission prompts as end-user license agreements that nobody reads. Treat them as firewall configurations.
If a calculator asks for microphone access, hard stop. Abort the installation.
Exactly. Step 3 requires addressing the danger of dormancy. Look at your home screen. Look at the app library.
We all have dozens of apps sitting there.
Mhm.
A public transit app for a city we visited 4 years ago, a specific photo filter we used once.
And you might assume that because the app isn't active in the multitasking tray, it's inert. It is not.
This is a huge misconception. People think swiping up and closing the app kills it completely.
It kills the foreground user interface, but it does not necessarily terminate the application's background execution state.
Modern operating systems allow apps to register for background refresh tasks, right?
Yes, or use push notification payloads as a backdoor to silently wake the app up in the background for a few seconds.
So if a dormant app retains the access background location permission, it is still waking up, grabbing your coordinates, and going back to sleep.
Day after day, year after year, a dormant app is a persistent vulnerability. You must aggressively audit your storage and delete applications you do not actively use.
Clean out the digital closet. And that ties directly into step 4, routine cryptographic audits.
Don't just set permissions upon installation and assume the configuration remains static forever.
Because operating systems update, apps update, and sometimes permissions are silently altered or expanded.
You need to routinely navigate to your OS settings, access the privacy and security dashboard, and open the permission manager.
Look specifically at the microphone, camera, location, and contacts arrays.
You will almost certainly find a legacy application in there that has retained access to a critical API that it no longer needs. Revoke the access at the OS level.
It is a phenomenal hygiene practice. And finally, the research emphasizes a critical vulnerability regarding the demographic most susceptible to these architectures.
Children.
Yes, the data harvesting economy is heavily subsidized by the behavioral profiling of minors.
It's a huge issue.
This is an architectural nightmare for parents. You hand a tablet to a child to keep them occupied, and they navigate to the App Store.
They see a brightly colored game offering free digital pets or racing cars.
And a child possesses zero understanding of what an API permission is. If a prompt blocks their access to the game, they will tap Allow indiscriminately.
And the regulatory frameworks like COPA in the United States are frequently bypassed or ignored by ghost developers operating overseas.
The developers embed the exact same aggressive third-party ad SDKs into a toddler's coloring app as they do in an adult's utility app.
The SDK does not differentiate. It begins scraping the device ID, logging the child's screen interactions, tracking their spatial location.
Building a behavioral profile of a minor
Right.
that is instantly sold into the programmatic advertising exchanges.
As a parent, you have to lock down the installation architecture of the device itself via parental controls. You cannot rely on the child to act as the security gatekeeper.
Right, as we pull back from the underlying code and look at the macro picture, we need to summarize the core reality of the data harvesting economy.
It's a massive ecosystem.
We've explored the entire pipeline, from the exploitation of runtime permissions and clipboard memory scraping to the high-frequency trading of your behavioral telemetry, all the way to the devastating real-world consequences of contact scraping and extortion syndicates.
The ultimate lesson here is an economic one.
It's about recognizing the profound value of the asset you generate just by existing with a smartphone in your pocket.
That is the fundamental truth. Your data, your precise physical movements throughout the day, the mathematical map of your social relationships, your biometric usage patterns.
Your comprehensive digital footprint.
These are not ephemeral data points. They are highly liquid, incredibly valuable assets on the global digital market,
They are the fuel for a multi-billion-dollar algorithmic engine.
prized equally by legitimate, massive advertising conglomerates looking to optimize their conversion rates, and ruthless cyber criminal networks looking to map your vulnerabilities.
You are walking around carrying a highly concentrated reservoir of digital wealth, and these thousands of free apps are the automated pickaxes chipping away at the vault.
That's a great way to put it.
So, what is the ultimate operational rule? The core directive from all the research we've analyzed today.
It is a fundamental paradigm shift in how you view software.
Check the permissions in the developer before you install, because if a complex piece of software is being offered to you for free, it is paying its bills with your data.
You are not the consumer in this transaction. You are the product.
And as we close out this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final, highly specific architectural thought to consider. We've discussed the sheer scale and the microscopic granularity of this passive tracking.
Right.
I want you to think about that old, forgotten free utility app sitting dormant in a folder on the 4th page of your home screen.
The one that has been there for 3 years.
It has survived multiple OS updates. Quietly, relentlessly, utilizing background execution states, it has been sampling your gyroscope to map your sleep.
Pinging your GPS to map your commute.
Logging your IP addresses to map your network, and silently observing the fluctuations in your most private contacts.
If you truly comprehend the volume and the intimacy of that structured behavioral database.
Who actually possesses a more accurate, unfiltered mathematical understanding of your daily reality?
Your closest friends and family, or a nameless, automated server rack belonging to a third-party data broker thousands of miles away that you didn't even know existed.
It is a deeply unsettling reality of modern engineering, but it is one we are entirely capable of defending against once we understand the mechanisms. Protect your hardware. Defend your digital clone. Audit your permissions.